Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my privilege to welcome everyone to the September 19th, 2024 Guelph Police Services Board meeting. At this point, I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with our territorial acknowledgement. As we gather, let us take time to reflect on our privilege to live and work in Guelph, a city built over rich Indigenous histories. We are guests here, and we should reflect upon the responsibility to care for this land, the people who live here today and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us towards reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as traditional lands and a place of refuge for many peoples over time, but more specifically, the Atawandaronk and the Haudenosaunee. This land is held as the treaty lands and territory with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Haldimand Tract and is part of the long-established traditional hunting grounds of the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples who have come from across Turtle Island call Guelph home today. At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any conflicts of interest or pecuniary interest to declare. Hearing none, I'll declare that item closed. And we have a motion from our closed session. If I can call on Vice Chair Armstrong.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to move the donation of $1,000 to the Big Brothers Big Sisters Night Out Gala from the community account.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Alt. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item, I'd like to introduce to you David Pringle, who is the manager of the University of Guelph Campus Safety Office. And I'd like to invite him to give us the highlights from April 2023 to March 24 annual report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Director Lee, I wanted to thank the board for having me here today to provide quick highlights of our annual report from 2023 to 2024. Before I move to the stats, I just want to give the board a quick overview of our responsibilities. As you know, our agency is responsible for campus safety. We achieve this through the deployment of 16 officers across 4 platoons, and we provide 24/7 coverage across our campus. We provide to our members ongoing training, support, mentoring, development, and we work with our various internal and external community partners. As special constables, we are sworn by the Guelph Police Services Board, or Guelph Police Service, and appointed by the Police Services Board. And while on campus, we have limited authorities under 7 provincial acts, including the Trespass and Property Act, Highway Traffic Act, Mental Health Act, and Liquor License Act, to name a few. As special constables, we also have arrest authorities within those provincial acts, as well as arrest authorities under the Criminal Code of Canada. We have a brand new MOU between the University of Guelph and the Guelph Police, and it provides our officers with guidelines and specific response protocols for various types of calls. And this MOU specifies when we must contact Guelph Police for them to attend and assume carriage of a particular case. Also of importance, also within our campus safety office, we have 2 fire prevention officers and emergency management manager. And within those 2 areas, we provide ongoing training campus-wide, along with ongoing tabletop training for our EOC executive team. We also highlighted in our report, we mentioned the first aid response team. It's a team of approximately 35 trained student volunteers. We also have a CSO, student auxiliary team, which are volunteers interested in policing, and they come from our criminal justice program. Both programs are very advantageous for our students and helps us, especially when we get to certain medical calls. It allows the FRT team to assess and take over the call for us. One of the important functions that we have within our house as well is the Integrated Mobile Police and Crisis Team, also known as the IMPACT Team, to help those that may be suffering with the mental health crisis. Again, another valuable asset that we have working with us. As we move forward to more statistics and our annual report highlights, every year we remain strong with our bicycle patrol. This is an important way for us to engage with our campus stakeholders, and we recognize how this mobile mode of transportation assists us in intending to reach those hard to get places on campus, such as trails, the Arboretum, and the Dairy Path. As I mentioned, the Student Auxiliary Program earlier, this is a fantastic way to work with these self-identified students who are seeking policing careers, provide them with development opportunities and experiential learning, and we promote GPS as a way of mentoring these young individuals and hopefully having them recruited down the road through Guelph Police. As part of community safety, we have maintained our partnership with the Safe Griffin app through App Armor. This is a mobile app that when downloaded, it allows the end user to access features that supports not only their personal safety, but their on-campus safety. And I'll talk a little bit about the personal safety. A user can access this toolbox to provide different support, such as direct contact with 911, direct contact with CSO, and it identifies within the app a campus-wide map that identifies AED placements, emergency poles across campus. If somebody needs immediate access to us, it can find out where the pole is and access CSO dispatch immediately. And we also have a work alone app that allows the end user to feel safe within the workplace. The other function that this app has is our campus-wide UFG alert through the ENS. Our dispatchers, through a push of the button, can send out emergency broadcasts to cell phones, desktops, laptops, TV monitors, and email accesses across campus to alert the community of potential dangers. But on a non-emergency side of the house, we can utilize it for campus closures due to snowstorms or long-term power disruptions. The UFG is tested daily to a small internal group, which ensures that our dispatchers are very competent and feel competent when setting out the alerts. As for our stats, we deploy proprietary software called D3. It's very similar to what GPS uses. I know you folks use Niche. It's very similar and has some very great capabilities for capturing data, annual calls, and that helps us build this annual report. As you'll note in our annual report, we had an overall call increase year by year from approximately 13,000 to 14,000 calls. Of note, the number of assaults and break-in enters have risen. However, also the number of charges for assault and break-in enters have also increased. Interestingly enough, we noticed that our liquor offenses have dropped significantly during this reporting time period. And this is something that we'll continue to watch and hope that we see a downward trend going forward. I'd like to point out our increase in mischief criminal charges and how stats need to be closely analyzed, and we continue to do that through our D3 software. On the surface, we saw a surge in mischief charges from normal average of 1 to 3 or 1 to 2 per year. This last reporting cycle, we saw an increase up to 26. However, when we break the stats down, we go into our software system, we notice that one person was charged with 23 of these 26 incidences. So having said that, that brings us more in line with our historical experience. Also of note, our Trespass of Property Act and highway traffic charges are down as the CSO continues. Even though they're down, we continue to be engaged in proactive safety patrols, and we continue to enforce the Trespass of Property Act as needed. Again, this is a quick highlight overview of our annual report following today's meeting. The report will be available on our CSO website. And again, I'd just like to thank, on behalf of our management team, I'd like to thank the board for having us here today. And I believe that I speak for Director Lee and myself and my partner, Tom Gill, that the strong relationship that we have with Guelph Police is very important. I know Director Lee has spoken with many counterparts across the province, at different universities, they do not have this relationship that we have. And I want to thank the chief and the deputies for this strong partnership. And that's about it. Is there any questions?
Okay. Chief Kobe.
Yeah, and I just want to echo Dave's comments there. We really do have a great working relationship, and Deputy Gill's going to touch on it more later during my monthly report. But homecoming is a perfect example on how we come together in a lot of ways, find a lot of great synergies, and I think it's safe to say we couldn't ask for a better relationship. So Dave, if you can pass on our thanks not only to Dave and Tom, but the university leadership as well, because we consider ourselves spoiled to get to work with you guys.
Thanks very much, Chief. I will.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Pringle, I'm going to thank you very much for your report and your presentation and keeping us up to date on all the good works that you're doing on the university campus. And look forward to hearing more next year about the great things you're up to this coming year. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Bye.
Bye. Okay, at this point, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the Thursday, September 19th, 2024 open meeting. Moved by Jane, Vice Chair Armstrong, seconded by Mr. Sharma. All in favor? Opposed? I declare that carried. Next item is a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Alt, seconded by Mr. Sharma. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, we're going to approve the consent agenda, but if any board member would wish to pull any item out of the consent for discussion prior to doing that, hearing none, I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda. Moved by Vice Chair Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Alt. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the the calls for service semi-annual report. Chief Kobe, perhaps you can lead us in this discussion.
Thanks so much. I look forward to that. Now, I want to take a moment and just I see both Jess and Judith are online here, and I want to thank Judith and Jess and their whole group for putting this together every year. As you can see, so this is a snapshot. This is only January to June 24 versus 23. And there's a couple key things I wanted to highlight. First, if you recall last year and for many years, we've had a lot of discussions about drop 911 calls. And we've had a lot of education campaigns, and Scott has led a lot of work that we've tried to make the community understand that, for example, accidents happen and sometimes people inadvertently call 911. The one thing we just need people to remember is that if that happens, please stay on the line and talk to the operator rather than kind of getting nervous and hanging up, because that leads to a lot of time for our members and our dispatchers. Last year, due to a number of carrier and application type things, we had an unprecedented thousands more drop 911 calls than we'd had before. Some carrier things, I assume, as well as some of the work Scott has done. We saw that. We didn't experience that over all of last year or again this year. So that was kind of a bit of an anomaly. I think approximately we might have had about an extra 5,000 calls in that period last year versus the year before. So that's really been helpful. If you can imagine, every one of those calls have to be responded to appropriately. So that was an anomaly. We continue to experience steady increase in call volumes. As I'm sure you've heard me say many times before, A couple of highlights I think are really important for us to note, and both mental health and domestic violence calls continue to be on the increase. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that in my monthly report later. But we have a lot of work to do with respect to supporting victims and survivors of gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, human trafficking. Those things continue to increase and continue to victimize many people in our city. So we look forward to some work we're going to do, and I'll speak more on that later. Another area where we're seeing an increase is our frauds. So we're seeing a big increase in internet-related frauds, and very unfortunately, often the targets of those are our elderly in our community. So that's another area that we're going to have to be looking at supporting education and enforcement as well. But those are two areas where we saw significant increases. On the favorable, you'll note at the top of page 2, so we did see a decrease in residential and commercial B&Es, and we've spoken now for a couple of years. Our break and enter and auto theft team has had a lot of proactive work done there, as well as some things for like personal injury, motor vehicle collisions fell by 9.3%. And I know the city and us and a number of stakeholders have worked towards a Vision Zero campaign, reduce speed limits, a number of other things. So, but we can't guarantee the cause. Certainly there's correlation with some of those changes. So I think that's a very favorable trend. And then overall, you'll note on the last page, some of our response times were up a little bit. I think the concerning one is that priority 1 response times were up about a minute over the first 6 months on average. That's still down significantly from where we were a few years ago, but I think it's important to, there's a lot of variables that go into that. So we're going to monitor that, whether it be construction or other things that have been happening in the city. But for that 6-month period, we certainly did notice that increase. And other than that, unless there's any questions, that's kind of the highlights from my perspective.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. I will thank you, Chief, and for the staff members who've helped prepare this report. It's great for our information, so thank you very much. Next item is for the Chief to provide us with his monthly report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to start kind of on the heels of Dave's presentation at the beginning to give Deputy Gill an opportunity just to give an update with respect to homecoming, some information for the board, and then I'll get through to another few items after that. So Steve.
Thank you, Chief. And through you, Mr. Chair. Just a very high-level overview of homecoming this year, which occurred on September the 28th. Again, we had a coordinated plan along with WEMS, GFD, the University of Guelph, of course, and bylaw. We utilized our EOTC here, so our Emergency Operating Training Center, which allows us to coordinate with our partners live and in person. So that's very beneficial. For us, it was a significant resource deployment, which included over 83 of our members being deployed throughout the day, which is significant, of course. But the event itself is quite significant. So this year up at Chancellor's Way, just off Edinburgh Road, there was thousands of students who gathered. This is, of course, an unsanctioned event with lots of alcohol with the university students. Numerous noise complaints, some complaints of assaults. Overall, we incurred total costs of just over $73,000. And again, the University of Guelph was a great partner in this and provided us financial support as well, covering many of the deployments in the area of just over $18,000 of that $73,000 was covered by the University of Guelph. So very supportive in that regard. Again, that's very high level. Pending any questions, that's that's my report on homecoming.
Okay. Does anybody have a question or a comment? Hearing none, I will thank Deputy Dill for his report. I guess back to you, Chief.
I had a number of items here that I was just going to make you aware of. So first is a thank you. I wanted to say thanks very much to our friends at Shelldale Family Gateway. They had a video that came out on social media, as well as our social media this week, recognizing what really has been a multi-decade partnership that we've had with them, where our members have really enjoyed the opportunity to interact with them, the youth in their community, our kick soccer program, and so many other things. And so it was a very kind recognition and a very thoughtful video. So I just wanted to, for any board members who haven't seen that, I wanted to bring that to your attention. And also for our community, it really is an example of kind of what we can do together when we collaboratively work with our citizens and our community groups. So I want to say a big, big thank you. It is so much appreciated by our members and our service. And I'll stop there just in case there's any questions. Okay. The next thing I noted in your board package this week, there was a correspondence from the directors of our local school boards. And I wanted to thank the directors of both boards for their kind recognition of the collaborative work our members do to support the students in both school boards. Our members are committed to supporting the youth in our community, and we will always work to ensure we can have positive and proactive interactions with them. And the fact that the directors both came together and took the time to write you as board members to highlight this and thank our members, it really is that connection, the thank you that our members get, something like that means so much to them. So I wanted to thank Peter and Mike for their thoughtful letter that you guys got to the board. I'm just pausing each time briefly, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we haven't met since our human trafficking community education session on October 7th. So as the board, you were aware that our new strategic plan specifically identifies the need to ensure increased supports for victims and survivors of human trafficking and intimate partner violence as a dedicated area of focus and very, very important priority for our community. This supports and is aligned with the important motion that our council passed last year, declaring intimate partner violence an epidemic in our community. I wanted to thank the many organizations, many of you on this call who attended, and many community leaders who attended our human trafficking information on October 7th. I think for all of us who were there, several key themes emerged. First, we continue to see a disturbing prevalence and increase in intimate partner violence and human trafficking in our city. While these crimes are not limited to one specific gender, it is important for us to acknowledge that the vast majority of those being harmed are vulnerable women and girls in our city. We have a responsibility to acknowledge our community, the city of Guelph. We are a hub for human trafficking, and this terrible crime is occurring in our city daily. And I've been at a number of community forums lately, and we've had discussions about this, and our community is often quite surprised to hear that. And I think we have a responsibility to acknowledge it, because if we don't acknowledge it, we are not going to be able to do the work required to improve this situation for so many. Having said that, we've done a lot of work, and I really truly believe that our community has many dedicated organizations and individuals, including Guelph Wellington Women in Crisis, Guelph Wellington Victim Services, the Guelph General Hospital, and many more who are committed to supporting those who are impacted. As a service, we are dedicated to taking a leadership role and working collaboratively with the Guelph Wellington Action Committee on Gender-Based Violence to support those impacted and hold accountable those who commit these crimes. So we've talked a lot about this in recent months. We're going to talk about it a great deal more. You can anticipate very regular updates from us. I think we have a responsibility to update both you, our council, and our citizens on the progress that we're making in relation to this. And that's going to include education, awareness, enforcement. It's going to take a suite of holistic initiatives that we have to bring our community together to address this crime. And at our next meeting, I look forward to sharing with you how we are going to be implementing these supports that are urgently needed in our community and what that's going to look like for our service moving forward. So in short, we have to do better. We have a significant issue, and this will be a very, very important area of focus for us for the next several years. So with that, I'll stop and welcome any questions.
Okay. Councillor Alt.
Thank you, Chair McSherry. It's a very quick one, but Chief Kobe, you'd mentioned the majority of offenses occur against females. And the reason I'm asking this question is that I traditionally, being male, think of gender as being binary male and female in most cases. But I'm wondering if there's any comments that need to be made about transgender or anything associated with that.
Well, and I think it's very important. This is not limited to one gender, but I think based on what we've learned in our city, the majority of those impacted are our vulnerable women and girls. However, this is all part of the work and the discussions we have to do so that we really can understand and respond to the issue in a supportive, collaborative way that is going to involve, as I say, education, awareness, and enforcement on our part.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Here, Vice Chair Armstrong.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that was an excellent event, and it was great to see so many community organizations represented there. And I take it as part of the collaboration efforts that there will be ongoing support with and involvement with respect to all of those organizations. Is that part of our plan, or will it be?
Oh yes. So, and for example, I had a really great opportunity a couple of weeks ago to actually attend a meeting of the Guelph Wellington Action Committee on Gender-Based Violence. So in that room, it brings together 2 to 3 dozen leaders and organizations within the community, so we can work together to support those who need it.
Thank you.
Okay. And then I wanted to, so the next update is, and we're coming to the end of my updates, Mr. Chair, just to pace, if you want to pace yourself. I wanted to give Andrew, Inspector Goody, there he is, give Andrew an opportunity. So in the last 3 weeks, we've done a lot of work in relation to supporting our downtown. I know we've talked about this a great deal over the last several years, and Inspector Goody, Staff Sergeant Bear, their entire team, a number of support stakeholders in the downtown have been working really hard so that we can provide supports to those who need it. So Andrew, I'll let you give a summary of our downtown safety initiative over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to the board for this opportunity to share with you some insight into the public safety initiative that we've endeavored on in the last couple of weeks. Let me start by saying that our service is committed to providing supports to those struggling with dependency while also ensuring the safety of our community. Unfortunately, what we've seen is our downtown community has experienced the negative impact of open illegal drug use as compared to some of our other neighborhoods, which has resulted in significant public safety concerns that have been brought to our attention. Recognizing the many variables that impact public safety in our downtown, our service has taken a multifaceted approach to address community concerns. Yet, despite these efforts, illegal open-air drug use and public safety issues have persisted. As such, for the last 3 weeks, our service has deployed a team of 5 officers to provide an increased presence in our downtown, focusing on public safety. These additional resources dedicated to the downtown are there to specifically address public safety, including open drug use and associated criminal behaviors. Where lawful grounds have existed, Arrests have been made and drugs have been seized. Officers then follow the direction as set out in the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, which directs officers to consider the next appropriate course of action, included warning, referral, or the laying of charges. But I think it's really important to understand how we got to this situation. So just to give you an idea, Guelph's downtown has had the highest number of drug poisoning incidents compared to any other neighborhood. That is more than 4 times higher than the next closest neighborhood. We've actually really focused on a health-centered approach to this, and our service has paired a dedicated community resource officer with a community health association impact worker. That has led to over 600 interactions in our downtown with more than 100 individuals receiving support. And then from an enforcement perspective, I think it's key to note that since January of 2023, there have been 35 separate drug trafficking investigations leading to over 80 arrests and over 460 charges being laid. These 5 officers have been on foot patrol, providing additional support to our existing downtown team in interacting with members of the downtown community. Although their focus has been on addressing public safety concerns, this team has also actively engaged with those that live and work and visit our downtown. For example, last week, 2 community members who just happened to be in our downtown approached our team regarding medical concerns, and our team was able to assist them with immediate wound care referrals. Since the start of this project 3 weeks ago, the team has documented specific interactions with over 35 people, resulting in their arrest for CDSA-related offenses. As a result of these 35 plus arrests, only 7 have led to CDSA or criminal charges being laid. However, various quantities of illicit drugs have been seized, including blue, brown, green fentanyl, crystal meth, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, morphine pills, as well as a weapon and drug paraphernalia. It should be noted that over 25 of those arrested were on some type of pretrial release order or probation. One individual, in fact, was on 11 separate release orders at the time of their arrest. As I previously mentioned, the team has really focused on a health-centered approach for this initiative. Over 25 of the team's interactions or arrests have led to a warning being issued and an immediate referral to a local community support, including impact or welcoming streets. This team has put an emphasis on assisting those with getting help that they truly need. Our team has directly helped members of our community access detox programming, peer support, and obtain medical assistance. This team has received overwhelming support from members in our downtown business community, demonstrating their appreciation for the service's proactive commitment to this initiative. And I think this again demonstrates the effective service that our organization can provide to the community when appropriate resourcing is allocated. That's a quick summary, Chief, of where we've been, and subject to any questions, that would be my report.
Okay. Vice Chair Armstrong.
Sorry, just was saying the chief was on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I have some thoughts, but I'll wait for any questions first. Nope. So I just want to kind of highlight a couple points there that Andrew made. And I also want to publicly thank Ben for the probably hundreds of hours him and his team have put into this. We've had a very measured, very progressive approach over the last several years. And it really is important for our community to know that we didn't get here overnight, in that there were hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands, Andrew, of proactive patrols in the downtown. What we saw in our downtown is that the open drug use and the concerns related to public safety were continuing to increase. So as a service, we'll do everything we can to ensure shared public spaces are safe and welcoming for all. It's equally important for us to note that we, as Andrew stated, are very mindful of the complexities of issues related to drug dependency, and we will continue to work closely with our social service providers to make sure those who need support get them. Having said that, as a service, it's important for us to recognize it's still illegal to possess illicit substances. And as Andrew said, when lawful grounds exists, arrests will be made and drugs will be seized. This is going to include our downtown, our parks, our shared public spaces. When that happens, what happens next is determined by the situation, each individual situation, and the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act and all the other laws that we have a responsibility to uphold. With that in mind, we're going to continue this initiative for as long as we can. So this started out, the information Andrew gave you is only three or 4 weeks of data. For each one of these interactions, we want to have lots of data points to measure progress. And we are going to keep this initiative going with no end date for as long as we can with the resources we have. So we will continue to take a health approach. We will continue to be mindful and have a sophisticated and a compassionate approach to those who need it, but we will address open drug use in our public spaces. So with that, Mr. Chair, we welcome any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will thank you very much for your update, Chief Kobe. Next item is our next meeting is going to be held on December 12th at 2:30 p.m. via Teams, and it will be live streamed on YouTube. At this point, I need a mover and a seconder for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Sharma, seconded by Vice Chair Armstrong. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.